The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Lisa as she worked on the external communication array of Mining Colony 7. Her bioluminescent skin cast a soft blue glow against the dark metal surface, a characteristic trait of her starweaver species. The stars twinkled silently around her, appearing much brighter here at the edge of known space. Just another routine repair, she muttered to herself, her delicate fingers moving with practiced precision over the array's control panel. The mining colony floated like a giant metal flower in space, its central dome surrounded by pedal-like structures that housed various operations. Lisa took pride in maintaining the colony's advanced systems, just as she took pride in being part of one of the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy. Below her position, a human worker in a basic EVA suit was conducting his own maintenance routine. Lisa had seen him around the colony before. Jake, she recalled his name. Like most of his kind, he relied on old-fashioned methods, using physical tools instead of the neural interfaces preferred by more advanced species. She had never understood why the colony management kept hiring humans. Their technology was centuries behind most spacefaring races. The repair was almost complete when Lisa's neural interface flashed a warning. Something was wrong with her tether system. Before she could process the information, she felt the secure connection to the colony wall loosen. Her heart raced as she quickly tapped into the colony's emergency response system through her neural link. Nothing happened. The automatic safety systems remained unresponsive. Her backup tether failed to deploy. In horror, she realized she was beginning to drift away from the colony wall. The vast emptiness of space seemed to reach out with hungry fingers, ready to swallow her whole. Emergency. This is Maintenance Engineer Lisa. I'm experiencing a tether malfunction. She called through her communication channel. The response came back garbled and broken. The very array she had been repairing was failing to transmit her distress call properly. Lisa's training kicked in, and she forced herself to remain calm. The Starweaver education system had prepared her for emergencies. She began cycling through emergency protocols, but each automated system failed to respond. Her perfect technology was failing her when she needed it most. The distance between her and the colony wall grew larger with each passing second. Her suit's thrusters weren't responding either. Fear gripped her chest as she realized she was helpless, floating farther and farther from safety. The beautiful stars she had admired moments ago now seemed cold and indifferent to her plight. Through her rising panic, she heard a sound that made no sense, the clank of magnetic boots on metal. Looking back toward the colony wall, she saw Jake detaching his own safety line. He was securing something around his waist. Was that a manual cable? The kind used for primitive climbing activities. Don't be foolish, she called out to him through the emergency channel. Your primitive suit isn't rated for free space rescue. Wait for proper emergency response. But Jake either couldn't hear her or chose to ignore her warning. She watched in disbelief as he methodically secured his makeshift rescue line. His movements were quick but careful, showing none of the panic she felt. Here was a human, using technology that her people had abandoned centuries ago, preparing to attempt what the colony's most advanced systems had failed to do. Lisa's rotation gave her one last glimpse of Jake before she faced open space again. He was checking his equipment with practiced ease, preparing to push off from the colony wall. The last thing she expected today was to put her life in the hands of a human using outdated technology. Yet, as the stars spun slowly around her, she realized she had no choice but to trust in this unexpected savior. Her people had always dismissed humans as an underdeveloped species that somehow made it to the stars. Now, drifting in the cold embrace of space, she was about to learn firsthand why humans had survived every challenge their harsh homeworld had thrown at them. Jake took a deep breath inside his basic EVA suit as he watched Lisa drift further into space. His old instructor's voice echoed in his mind. Space doesn't care about fancy technology. It only cares about who keeps their head clear and their actions smart. The makeshift rescue line he had assembled was simple, a combination of his climbing rope and tool tethers. It wasn't pretty, but it was strong. While other workers might have waited for the automated systems to kick in, Jake had learned long ago that sometimes the simplest solution was the best solution. He clicked his magnetic boots off the colony wall and pushed himself toward Lisa with careful force. Years of rock climbing on Earth had taught him that rushing led to mistakes, and in space, mistakes meant death. The distance between them grew smaller, but Jake could see Lisa's suit spinning slowly, making the rescue more complicated. "Hey," his voice crackled through the emergency channel. "I need you to stay as still as possible. Any movement you make will make it harder for me to reach you." His tone was calm and steady, hiding the tension he felt inside. Lisa's voice came back, shaky but controlled. "My suit's stabilizers aren't responding. I can't stop the rotation." "That's okay," Jake replied, his eyes calculating the spin. "I've caught spinning toys thrown by my little cousin. This is just a bigger version of the same thing." He tried to keep his voice light, remembering how fear could make any situation worse. The stars wheeled around him as he moved through space. His basic suit didn't have fancy thrusters or neural interfaces, but it had something more reliable: small gas jets controlled by physical switches. He triggered them in short bursts, matching Lisa's spin. The cold of space pressed against his suit. Unlike the advanced suits worn by alien species, his suit couldn't completely block out the feeling of the vacuum surrounding him. But that sensation had saved his life more than once, helping him sense when something was wrong before instruments could detect it. As he got closer, he could see the fear in Lisa's eyes through her helmet. Her bioluminescent skin was flashing rapidly, a sign of distress in her species. The light created a beautiful but eerie glow around her spinning form. "Almost there," Jake said, more to keep her calm than anything else. "When I grab your suit, there's going to be a jolt. Don't panic. That's normal." He reached out as Lisa's spin brought her closer. His fingers brushed her suit once, twice. On the third pass, he grabbed hold of a utility ring on her back. The sudden connection sent them both tumbling, but Jake was ready for it. He triggered his suit's jets in a pattern he had practiced dozens of times in rescue drills. "Got you," he said, his voice steady despite the effort. "Now comes the fun part." Lisa's voice was a mix of relief and disbelief. "Your suit's power must be nearly depleted. We should wait for—" "No time," Jake interrupted. "We're too far out. Simple physics is our best friend right now." He attached his rescue line to her suit's harness point. "Hold on to me. We're going to swing back." Using the momentum of their drift and careful bursts from his jets, Jake turned their movement into a controlled arc back toward the colony. It wasn't elegant like the automated systems would have been, but it was working. The colony wall grew larger in their view. "How?" Lisa started to ask, her voice filled with wonder. "How are you doing this without computer assistance?" Jake smiled inside his helmet. "Sometimes the best computer is the one between your ears. My grandmother used to say that." The memory gave him strength as he made final adjustments to their approach. Their landing on the colony wall wasn't gentle, but Jake's magnetic boots locked firmly onto the metal surface. He quickly secured Lisa with a secondary tether, making sure they were both safely attached to the colony structure. Only then did he allow himself to breathe normally again. "Welcome back," he said, the smile evident in his voice. "Let's get you inside before anything else exciting happens." Lisa stared at him through her helmet, her bioluminescence now pulsing with a different rhythm, one of amazement rather than fear. She had just witnessed something her advanced species had always considered impossible: a rescue completed with nothing but basic tools and human ingenuity. The medical bay of Mining Colony 7 hummed with advanced equipment. Lisa sat on an examination bed while a medical scanner moved over her body, its soft green light reflecting off her still glowing skin. Jake stood nearby, his basic EVA suit now hanging in the maintenance locker outside. "All readings appear normal," the medical computer announced in its smooth voice. Lisa nodded, but her attention was fixed on Jake, who was filling out an incident report using an old-fashioned tablet and stylus instead of the neural interface terminal available on the wall. "Why do you choose to write by hand?" she asked, unable to contain her curiosity any longer. "The neural interface would be 50 times faster." Jake looked up from his tablet and smiled. "Because this tablet has never once crashed during a power fluctuation, and I can read it with my own eyes, even if all systems go down." He tapped the screen with his stylus. "Sometimes slower is safer." The medical bay door slid open, and Colony Administrator Reed walked in, his face stern. "We've reviewed the initial data from the incident," he announced, his eyes moving between Lisa and Jake. "The automated safety systems should have engaged. This situation should never have required." He paused, looking at Jake's basic equipment with barely hidden distaste. "Manual intervention." Lisa felt her skin pulse with a defensive blue glow. "Those manual methods saved my life, Administrator. Our advanced systems failed completely." "A temporary malfunction, I'm sure," Reed replied smoothly. "We'll conduct a full investigation. In the meantime, Engineer Lisa, you'll be relieved of external maintenance duties until we understand what happened." "What about the communication array?" Lisa protested. "It still needs repairs." "We'll assign another engineer with more advanced equipment," Reed stated firmly. Jake, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. "Sir, with respect, the array isn't just a technical problem. I noticed something while I was out there." He walked to a nearby display and pulled up images from his suit's basic camera. "See these marks on the tether connection point? They're not random damage." Lisa moved closer to the screen, her technical training kicking in. The marks did look deliberate, precise cuts that would cause the tether to fail under stress. Her skin flickered with realization. "Someone sabotaged my equipment." Reed dismissed the images with a wave. "Your primitive imaging system must be malfunctioning. Our security scans would have detected any tampering. Unless," Lisa said slowly, her mind racing, "someone knew how to bypass those scans. Our systems are advanced, but they're also predictable. They only look for what they're programmed to find." Jake nodded. "That's why I still trust my eyes first, and sensors second. Technology can be fooled. Basic instincts, experience, those are harder to trick." The administrator's face hardened. "This is exactly why we're moving away from relying on primitive methods. Human instincts are unreliable. Data is absolute." "Data didn't save me today," Lisa said firmly, surprising herself with her conviction. "He did." She pointed at Jake, her skin glowing with a determined purple hue. The tension in the room was broken by an alert from the medical computer. "Attention. Neural network diagnostic complete. Results indicate possible external interference during the incident. Origin unknown." Reed's expression changed from dismissive to concerned. "External interference? That's impossible. Our systems are sealed." "Maybe it's time we considered that advanced doesn't always mean better," Jake suggested quietly. "Sometimes a simple lock works better than a complex security system." Lisa found herself nodding. Everything she had been taught about human technology being primitive and unreliable was being challenged. She watched Jake return to his incident report, methodically documenting everything with his simple tablet, while the colony's advanced systems continued to search for answers they couldn't find. "Administrator," she said, making a decision, "I'd like to request Jake's assistance in investigating this incident. His different perspective might be exactly what we need." Reed looked like he had swallowed something sour, but the medical computer's findings left him little choice. "Very well. But all findings must be properly documented through official channels." As the administrator left, Lisa turned to Jake. "I owe you an apology. I used to think humans were stuck in the past. Now I'm starting to wonder if maybe you just know something we've forgotten." Jake smiled as he finished his report. "Sometimes the old ways stick around for a reason. Now, want to help me figure out who tried to turn your repair job into a spacewalk?" The maintenance level of Mining Colony 7 was quieter than usual. Lisa and Jake sat in a small workshop, surrounded by both advanced holographic displays and old paper diagrams spread across a metal table. 3 days had passed since the incident, and they were piecing together a disturbing pattern. "Look at this," Lisa said, her fingers moving through the holographic maintenance logs. Her skin glowed a concentrated yellow, a sign of deep focus among her people. "There have been 7 minor malfunctions in the past month, all involving safety systems." Jake nodded, marking something on his paper diagram. "And all affecting non-automated equipment, the kind that most advanced species don't use anymore." He pointed to his notes. "The cargo lift that nearly dropped last week. It only failed after someone tried to use the manual override instead of the neural interface." Lisa's glow shifted to a worried purple. "You think someone's targeting workers who don't use advanced technology?" "Not just workers," Jake said, pulling up an image on his tablet. "Look at these security recordings. Every malfunction happened right after the colony received new equipment upgrades." The door to the workshop slid open with a soft hiss. Both of them turned to see Tom, another human maintenance worker, stumbling in. His face was pale. "You need to see this," Tom gasped, holding up his own tablet. "I was checking the oxygen recycling systems, the manual backups. They've all been disabled. If the main system had failed..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew what zero oxygen meant in space. Lisa quickly accessed the colony's main computer. The automated diagnostics show everything is fine. But she turned to Jake. "Can you check it your way?" Jake was already moving. "Tom, show me where you found the problem." The 3 of them made their way through the maintenance tunnels, avoiding the main corridors. Lisa's bioluminescence provided soft lighting as they reached the oxygen recycling chamber. Jake pulled out a simple pressure gauge, the kind that made most advanced species roll their eyes. "Here's something interesting," he said after a few minutes of checking. "The manual systems aren't just disabled. They've been rigged to show false readings to the main computer. If the automated system failed, we wouldn't just lose oxygen. We wouldn't even know we were losing it." Lisa felt her skin pulse with alarm. "This is beyond sabotage. This is attempted mass murder," Tom finished grimly. Jake stood up, his face serious. "The question is, why? Who benefits from making manual systems look unreliable?" Lisa's mind raced. "Wait, the colony's getting another major upgrade next week. The board approved removing all manual backup systems, saying they're obsolete." Her glow darkened. "They're going to replace everything with fully automated systems. Systems that someone has already proved they can hack," Jake added, his voice grim. A sound from the corridor made them all freeze. Through the partly open door, they saw a group of maintenance robots passing by. Their usual patrol patterns changed. "They're not supposed to be here at this hour," Tom whispered. "Because they're not following their normal protocols," Lisa realized, quickly checking her neural interface. "Someone's overridden their controls, but the main computer doesn't show any changes." Jake quietly closed the door. "We need to document everything. Not in the computer system. They'll see it. Tom, get your old camera. Lisa, can you access the historical logs without alerting the main system?" Lisa nodded. "I think so. I can root through the old backup servers. Nobody uses them anymore, so nobody monitors them either." "Good," Jake said, pulling out his notebook. "Because I think we just found out why my rescue of you had to look like an accident." He looked at both of them seriously. "Someone's trying to prove that manual systems and the people who use them don't belong in space, and they're willing to kill to make their point." Lisa's glow pulsed with determination. "Then we need to prove them wrong. But first," she looked at the oxygen systems, "we need to fix these backups before anyone notices we found them. And we need to figure out who has access to both the neural interfaces and the physical systems," Tom added. Jake nodded, already working on the backup systems. "Welcome to the world of doing things the old-fashioned way. Step 1. Trust your eyes more than your computers." Lisa watched as Jake's skilled hands worked on the machinery. She had never imagined she would be trusting her life to primitive methods twice in 1 week. But as she thought about the sabotaged systems above them, she was grateful for these humans and their stubborn attachment to the basics of survival. In the dimly lit server room of Mining Colony 7, Lisa watched with fascination as Jake worked with a simple mechanical toolset. Her bioluminescent skin cast a soft glow over his hands, while he carefully connected a basic data reader to the colony's backup servers. "This device," Jake explained, holding up what looked like an outdated scanner, "can't be hacked because it's too simple. It only does one job: read data. No fancy networks, no wireless connections." "Like a book," Lisa said, remembering something she'd learned about Earth. "You can't hack a printed book." Jake smiled. "Exactly. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." The device beeped, and numbers started scrolling across its tiny screen. "Got it. These are the real maintenance logs, not the altered ones in the main system." Lisa leaned closer, her skin pulsing with excitement as she read. "Look at these access patterns. Someone's been using high-level administrative codes to modify the safety protocols." But she paused, her glow flickering with concern. "These codes belong to Administrator Reed, or someone who stole his access," Jake suggested, writing in his notebook. "Even the best security can be copied, but behavior patterns, those are harder to fake." A quiet beep from Tom's comm unit interrupted them. "Security robots are heading your way," Tom's voice whispered through the ancient radio Jake had given them. "And they're not following standard patrol routes." Jake quickly disconnected his reader. "Time to disappear. Lisa, remember what I taught you?" Lisa nodded, her heart racing. Over the past few days, Jake had shown her how humans navigated dangerous situations without relying on technology. They moved silently through the maintenance shafts, paths that didn't appear on any modern colony maps. As they crawled through a narrow tunnel, Lisa found herself thinking about Earth's history. "Your people," she whispered, "they survived countless disasters without advanced technology, didn't they?" "We survived because we adapted," Jake replied softly. "Humans learned to use whatever was available. Technology is great, but it's the backup plans that keep you alive." They emerged in Jake's workshop, where Tom was waiting with more disturbing news. "They're pushing up the automation upgrade," he said, showing them his tablet. "It's happening tomorrow, not next week." Lisa's skin flashed with alarm. "That's too soon. Once they remove all the manual systems, we'll be completely dependent on computers that someone else controls," Jake finished. He spread out a physical map of the colony. "Look here. These are all the critical manual override points they're planning to remove." Lisa studied the map, her engineer's mind racing. Life support, airlocks, power distribution. They're not just removing backups. They're eliminating every system that can be operated without the neural interface. "Creating a perfect trap," Tom added grimly. Jake pointed to several locations on the map. "These points are the most critical. If someone wanted to take control of the colony, they'd need to disable these manual overrides first." Lisa's skin pulsed with sudden understanding. "That's why they tried to kill me. I was maintaining the last independent communication array, the one system that could call for help without going through the main computer. And now we know why they're in such a hurry," Jake said, his face serious. "Tomorrow's upgrade will give them everything they need." Lisa accessed her neural interface one last time, downloading critical data before disconnecting. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm starting to understand why humans keep backup plans for their backup plans." Jake began gathering tools, simple, reliable tools that had worked for centuries. Humanity learned the hard way that progress isn't about abandoning the old ways. It's about knowing when to use them. "So what's the human solution to our problem?" Lisa asked, her glow steady and determined. Jake smiled as he handed her a mechanical toolkit of her own. "First, we do what humans have always done. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Tom, get the others. Lisa, I'm going to teach you how to bypass a neural interface using nothing but wire and basic tools. As Jake began her crash course in human-style engineering, Lisa realized something profound. Her people had spent centuries advancing beyond what they saw as primitive technologies. But here, facing a threat that targeted those very advances, she was learning that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most powerful. Ready to learn some primitive human tricks? Jake asked, holding up a wrench. Lisa's skin glowed with newfound confidence. Teach me everything. The emergency alarms of Mining Colony 7 blared to life at exactly midnight. Lisa stood with Jake in the main control room, watching as system after system began to fail. Her skin pulsed with a mix of fear and determination as the main lights flickered and died. Right on schedule, Jake said calmly, switching on an old battery-powered lamp. Around them, other workers panicked as their neural interfaces went dark, cutting them off from the colony's automated systems. The main screen flickered to life, showing Administrator Reed's face. But his usual polite expression was replaced with cold determination. This colony is now under new management, he announced. All automated systems have been reconfigured. For your safety, please remain where you are. He's locked down all the automated doors, Lisa reported, her hands moving across a manual control panel Jake had taught her to use. Everyone's trapped in their sections. Jake nodded, pulling out his notebook. Good thing we planned for this. He clicked on a simple radio. Tom, you ready? In position. Tom's voice crackled back. The others are too, just like we practiced. Lisa watched in amazement as human workers throughout the colony began to move with practiced precision. While other species stood helpless without their neural interfaces, the humans were already working. Manual override engaged in Section 4. One voice reported over the radio. Backup life support active in Section 7. Another called. Mechanical airlock controls secured in Section 2. Reed's voice boomed through the colony again. This is pointless resistance. Your primitive methods cannot overcome our superior technology. The colony's systems will only respond to authorized neural commands now. Jake smiled as he worked on a manual circuit board. He still doesn't get it, does he? He looked at Lisa, ready to show them what you learned. Lisa's skin glowed brightly as she pulled out the mechanical toolkit Jake had given her. Together, they'd moved to the main power distribution panel. While Reed's attention was focused on the digital systems, they began implementing their own plan. Humans haven't survived this long by depending on just one way of doing things, Jake explained as they worked. We always have a backup plan. Suddenly, the air circulation stopped. Reed's voice came again, smug this time. Surrender now, and we'll restore life support. Now, Tom, Jake called into his radio. Throughout the colony, hidden manual ventilation systems, installed generations ago and never removed, cranked to life. The sound of mechanical fans filled the air. Lisa felt a surge of pride. She had helped restore those systems over the past day. Impossible. Reed's voice showed its first sign of stress. Those systems were decommissioned. Decommissioned doesn't mean dead, Jake replied, working faster. Lisa, the bypass circuit. Lisa's hands moved confidently now, using the simple tools that just days ago she would have considered primitive. Ready. Around the colony, more systems began coming back online, not through the neural network, but through physical switches and mechanical controls. The humans had spent the last day teaching others how to operate these basic systems. Reed's image flickered as he lost control of more systems. Stop this. You're rejecting progress. These primitive methods err. These primitive methods built the first spaceships, Jake interrupted, making the final connection. They took humans to their first stars. And they still work just fine. Lisa activated the manual communication array she had repaired, the one that had nearly cost her life. This is Mining Colony 7 broadcasting on emergency channels. We have a situation. Security forces would arrive in hours, but for now, they watched as Reed's control over the colony crumbled. Simple mechanical locks engage, trapping him and his conspirators in their own automated offices. "I never thought I'd say this," Lisa said, her skin glowing with admiration. "But I'm glad humans are too stubborn to give up their old ways." Jake checked the readings on his simple pressure gauge. "It's not about old or new," he said, smiling. "It's about using the right tool for the job. Sometimes that's a neural interface. And sometimes it's a wrench," Lisa finished, holding up her own tool with pride. All around them, the colony hummed with the sound of machinery operating the way it had for generations, through the simple, reliable methods that humans had brought to the stars. 2 weeks after the crisis, Mining Colony 7 buzzed with a different kind of energy. Workers from various species moved through the halls, many now carrying both neural interfaces and basic toolkits. In the main engineering bay, Lisa stood before the colony's safety board, her skin glowing with confidence as she presented her findings. "The incident has taught us an important lesson," she said, gesturing to both the holographic display and the paper diagrams on the wall. "True progress isn't about replacing old systems with new ones. It's about finding the perfect balance between both." Jake sat in the back of the room, trying to hide a proud smile. The board members, newly appointed after Reed and his conspirators had been taken into custody, listened intently as Lisa continued. "We've discovered that 15 other colonies received the same automated upgrades that nearly doomed us," Lisa explained. "Thanks to human ingenuity and what they call redundancy planning, we stopped the attempt to make colonies completely dependent on hackable systems." The board's chairperson, an elderly starweaver like Lisa, leaned forward. "Your recommendation, then?" "Implement what we're calling the human protocol," Lisa replied, her skin pulsing with enthusiasm. "Every critical system should have both advanced automation and basic mechanical backups. And more importantly," she glanced at Jake, "we need to preserve the knowledge of how to use both." Later, as they walked through the colony's corridors, Lisa and Jake stopped to watch a training session. A human engineer was teaching a group of alien workers how to operate manual airlock controls, while a Starweaver technician explained how to integrate them with neural interfaces. "Look at that," Jake said, nodding toward the class. "A month ago, most of them wouldn't have touched a physical tool. Now they're learning to use both." Lisa's skin rippled with amusement. "And some of the humans are actually trying neural interfaces. Small steps, right?" They reached their new shared workshop, a space that perfectly reflected their merged approaches. Advanced diagnostic equipments sat beside basic mechanical tools. Holographic displays showed system status, while paper manuals provided backup references. "The investigation team found something interesting," Lisa said, calling up a report on her neural interface while simultaneously writing notes in the paper logbook Jake had given her. "Reed's group targeted multiple colonies, but they chose ours first because we had the highest number of human workers," Jake finished. "They saw us as the biggest threat to their fully automated future." "They were right about one thing," Lisa said, her glow shifting to a thoughtful blue. "Human methods were a threat to their plans, not to progress." She picked up a wrench, weighing it in her hand. "You know, my people used to think humans were stuck in the past because you kept old technology alongside the new." Jake checked a pressure gauge out of habit, another human trait Lisa had come to appreciate. "And now I understand that humans don't keep old methods out of fear of the new. You keep them because you understand something my people forgot. That true advancement means having choices." Her skin glowed brighter. "Sometimes the most advanced choice is knowing when to use the simplest solution." The colony's new warning system chimed, a combination of advanced alerts and simple alarms. A minor issue in the mining sector needed attention. Lisa grabbed both her neural interface toolkit and her mechanical tools. "Ready to go fix it both ways?" Jake asked, gathering his own gear. "Actually," Lisa said, her skin pulsing with happy colors, "I want to try solving it the human way first. Sometimes you need to understand the basics before you can appreciate the advanced solutions." As they headed toward the mining sector, other workers nodded in greeting. humans and aliens alike, many now carrying tools that represented both the future and the past. The attempted takeover had failed, but it had succeeded in ways Reed never intended. It had bridged a gap between species and technologies, creating something stronger than either side had alone. "You know," Lisa said as they walked, "I used to think humans were behind the rest of us in space technology. Now I realize you were ahead of us all along. You just took a different path to the stars." Jake smiled. "Not behind, not ahead, just different. And sometimes," he said, patting the tools at his belt, "different is exactly what you need."